Okay, so last video I kind of talked to you about what a database is. Now we're going to go through and we're going to create the first two objects of a database. We're going to create a table, which every database has to have at least one table. And what this is just that this table is, again, going back to Amazon that we were dealing with before. The table at Amazon is just this big, huge database that lists every single item that they sell. So, like, they sell this kind of office chair. It's made out of this. The manufacturer is this. It's imported from here. It costs so much money. Here are the customer reviews. It has little bits of information about that object. And every object, every device, everything that Amazon sells has a listing in this database. So it's a big, huge database. We couldn't shop at that store. So what we need to do is we're going to create a table, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a table about students, about people that are in this class. And just some information that we're interested in about them. It's not going to be a real database, but we're just going to create this table just to show you how to create a table, and we're going to use students as our records. So we're going to create records for every student. So what I've got, I just kind of created this on Excel. Here's the way our table is going to list. So for every student is going to have a record, and their record is going to list their student ID, their last name, their first name, middle initial, their street address, city, state, zip, what their major is, and how many hours they've completed. So these are the things that this database is going to show. Now the field names are going to be kind of similar to what the description is. So student ID is going to be SID. Last name is L name. F name is first name. Middle initial MINIT. SAD is street address. City is city. State is state. Postal is zip code. Major is major. And HComp is hours completed. So we're going to create a table that has these fields in it. Now, beside that, you'll see this is the size of our field. So our last name could be 10 characters long. Our first name could be 10 characters long. Our middle initial, now we only want people to enter their middle initial. So I've limited the size of that to 1. State is going to be the same way. What you're trying to do is you're trying to keep people from screwing this database up as much as you can. Because here's the thing, if you're looking for customers from a particular state or students from a particular state, and you allowed them to enter that state in any way that they wanted to, it would be hard to search for that state. In other words, if some of the students lived in Kentucky and entered KY, and other students who lived in Kentucky entered the entire word Kentucky, and other students who live in Kentucky entered like KEN, those are 3 different ways to look up Kentucky. So it doesn't make it easy to search for this, because if people just typed in anything they want, it would be kind of hard for us to pull this data out. This is why when you go onto a website and it's asking for your address, it will list, when it gets to state, it gives you a drop down rather than let you type in what you want, because that way it can be very sure that you're going to enter the state that you want. So we're going to create a table that has this information. All right, so I'm going to open up Access. And I have to bring it up. There it goes. Okay, so it opens up and it looks like this. Now, Access is going to be completely weird the first time that you try to do this. Let me get rid of something. Delete. Because when we were dealing with Word and when we've dealt with Excel and we're going to deal with PowerPoint, you can create the entire project. Just get in there and start typing before you ever have to save it and give it a name and say where you want to save it. Access works completely different. Access is, you actually have to create the container that this database is going into before you start creating the objects for this database. So we're going to have to create a database that our tables can go into, that our queries can go into, that all of this stuff can go into. So we actually have to create the database container first before we start creating the objects that go into it. So you see this is going to be a little bit different, because I'm just going to click on blank database, and the first thing it asks me to do is give it a name and say where I want to save it. So I'm going to call this thing my first database. And I'm going to save this thing on my desktop just to be difficult. Okay, and I'm going to click on create. Now, it's created a shortcut on my desktop somewhere. Oh, there it is. So I created this shortcut. So anyway, here's my table. And you notice when Access open, it opens up into a table. So it says table 1, because that's the first thing it wants you to do. Because you have to have a table before you can start creating anything else. You have to have the tables for the queries to work off of, the forms to work off of, the reports to work off. The tables are the most important thing. So we're going to create our first table. Now, when you start creating a table, or anything, let me say, remember we're going to create 4 things in Access: tables, forms, queries, and reports. Tables, each of these objects have 2 different ways of looking at it for the purpose of this class. Like this is a table, we're looking at a table here, and this is what's called data sheet view. For all of the things that we're going to do, forms, queries, tables, reports, there is a design view and then there is the other view. So like for a table, there's going to be design view and data sheet view. For forms, there's going to be design view and form view. For queries, there's going to be design view and query view. So there's 2 different ways that we're going to do. Now you're only going to have to worry about these 2 different views. There are the views, but you're only going to have to worry about design view and then the view of the object that you're working on. So this is a table, and what we need to do is go into design view of the table. Now, the book is going to show you a different way to create, 2 different ways to create the tables. Now, this is the second way, and I kind of think it's the best way, just because it lets you get in and start actually being specific on how you want this table created. So what we're going to do is, up here in the corner, you'll see that there's this triangle, ruler, pencil button, and this will take you into design view of whatever kind of an object that you're working on. But it's the same button. If you hit the down arrow, you'll see that these are the 2 views for a table: data sheet view and design view. And we'll look at a form in a second. So what we want to go is into design view. And when we click on that, the first thing it wants us to do is give this table a name. So we're going to call this the students table. Students. And we're going to say OK. And then it takes us into design view for the table that we're working on. So this is design view for this table. So up here you'll see that we have a place for our field name, our data type, and our description. And this is going to kind of match up with this. Our description here, our field name here, field size is going to go right down here, and field type is going to be our data type. Now, the first thing that we're going to look at is our student ID. I'll tell you what, I'm going to quit this video right now, and then we'll get into creating this next one, actually getting into the nuts and bolts of creating this on the next video, just because this video is getting a little long. All right, so I will see you all back here in just a bit.